So the concept actually originated in England in the 17th century. So later when we have the American and the French Revolution was the fight for the human rights, and that's how we tend to observe the American and the French revolutions. So that revolution has actually emphasized the main cost of individual rights. They wanted to have the individual rights, and then slowly it has given the prominence, and we have seen that nationalism and the democracy it has actually acquired the human rights source during the 19th and the 20th century. Okay. When we are saying this, the constitutions in the many of the countries who are struggling with armed struggle, like Asia and the African countries, they have incorporated this human right into fundamental rights, which was like an example in India. India is being one of the prime examples here that has actually learned that the human rights are very universal, they are civil and they are political, and cultural rights there. So these revolutions, the constitutions that has adopted, it has given the opportunity so that they could incorporate all these human rights in the form of fundamental rights here, and that's how we tend to see in our Indian constitution all these human rights as the fundamental rights here. So the establishment of United Nations in the year 1946, it has actually came into life with the spirit of the after the Second World War that has been happened. So right from the starting point in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations on 10th December 1948, it was actually followed by the UN in 1966 by the other two important documents as well. One is the International Convent of Civil and Political Rights, and the International Convent on Economic and the Social Cultural Rights. So, whereas it has made the member nations, whoever the participants are there, it has made those member nations a moral obligation there, and thus how the three UN documents they have been now regarded as forming as the International Bill of Rights here. Okay, so, thus, we tend to observe the Declaration of Political Rights of Women in the year 1925, Declaration of Rights of Children in 1959, the Declaration on the Elimination of Discrimination Against the Women 1967, the Declaration on the Rights of Mentally Handicapped 1971, the Declaration on the Rights of the Handicapped Persons 1975, and the Declaration of the Rights of Old People 1982 that has been emerged, and the most important one was the right to development that was actually adopted in the year 1986. So there was a trend of a series of international human rights and treaties. We tend to observe there was a series that has been expanded since the 1945, whereas the human rights gave law to consider all those human rights and the ethnicity here. So there are many such series, and we'll see they are like conventions, they are like international conventions. International Conventions on Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination 1965, the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination in the Rights of Persons with Disabilities 2006, the Convention Against Discrimination in Education, the ILO. So these are all a series of international human rights and treaties that has been adopted since the 1955. So, since we are talking about the human rights, we'll now understand what are actual the human rights are. So, they say that in the first documentary, they use the expression as human rights. So, where we could see that this is adopted in the Charter of the United Nations here. Okay, that has declared. the fostering the human rights as one of the basic and the most important goals of the United Nations here. Okay. So United Nations here, and thus how why are these human rights are? These human rights are those rights which are to be enjoyed by the humans because we are the humans here and we are the natural beings. Since as being a natural, as being as a human being, we must enjoy our rights, and that's how it is given to us. And the provisions that are also emphasized to provide equality or non-discrimination in this charter of United Nations as such. So if we see human rights, it could be generally defined where because we inherent as by nature we are the human beings here and we cannot live without which we cannot live as a human beings. This human rights. Okay, these are the most important concepts. So whereas these rights are actually universal because they actually see on every human being's dignity. It depends not only in one point of view, in one point of right according to the human. It tends to see irrespective of which color you are, which sex you are, which ethnic or social origin, religion, language, nationality, age, sexual orientation, disability. All these are the many distinguishing characteristics where it has been universal there. And whereas Kofi Annan, who is a former Secretary General of United Nations, they have put this human rights as a foreign. Human rights are nothing but foreign, but it has no culture and it has no native, and it has native to all those nations. And he says that these are the universal. That's how we have seen in the just now, where it is giving irrespective of race, color, sex, ethnic, social, language. So that's what it is very universal. Okay. So human rights are those rights because by the virtue we are being a human rights here, and it is her or his human dignity to have that human rights here. And these human rights are especially where the human rights they define the relationship between the individuals and also the power structures. Power structures are nothing but it's according with our state and with our fellow society as such. Okay, so here where we tend to see this starting from this French American Revolution and starting from this French Revolution of and the American Revolution that has been started in the 18th century, where this human rights idea has been driven, and it has been a revolutionary movement to empower all those uh, power and the governments and control those wider of powers because government can once a time it can just go beyond the limits. So at that time to just control them and also the power that is there within the states here. So now we'll understand the classification of human rights. So human rights, it actually not only pertaining to one certain aspect, but it is pertaining to all certain aspects of life here. And this actually involves and enables the all shapes individual to shape and to determine to have their own lives in their liberty, which is you are free and their equality and to respect, and you have to respect for the human dignity. As a human being, you have to respect the fellow beings here as such. So this human rights, it encompasses many things like civil, political, economic, social and cultural rights, as well as the collective rights of those peoples as such. So many of this academic researchers and the policy makers, they have made multiple ways. So they put classification of human rights. One is the security rights. This is actually meant where to protect those people who have been against the murder. There will be falsification of the cases regarding the murders and the tortures that is actually beyond the limits and the genocide. So genocides we see in many of the countries. It's been observed the genocide where they are actually killing the people, huge number of people. So These security rights protect such kind of people against this murder, torture, and disease. So due to this process rights, people actually protect people have been protected against the arbitrary and the harsh punishments. So there will be few punishments that are actually not eligible for them, but they are being given those harsh punishments. They were these human rights actually protect them from the harsh punishments, and they actually require and they also protect the fair and public trials from the accused of the crimes here as well. Okay. Next, we have the liberty rights where they protect the uh, people have the fundamental freedom. In our constitution as well, we have in the Article 19 laying down for the freedom of expression, right? So whereas these liberty rights are actually meant to provide the fundamental movements such as belief, one is free of having its own belief, they can express and the association and the movement. That is always we see in our as an example in our fundamental rights pertaining in the constitution. Okay. Next, we have the political rights. This is actually meant to have you can have the freedom to participate in politics. Okay. You can also assemble by protesting, by voting, by serving the public offices, right? There are a number of public offices like MLA you are, you can be, and you can contest as an MP, you can contest as a corporator. There are many things. So next we have equality rights, where equality rights by the name itself we tend to see it actually guarantees equal citizenship here, and it provides equality before the law as well and the freedom from discrimination. So there are social rights that require that the government should ensure that everybody is having availability of health and proper education. These are all sort of things that have been looking up by the government for education, health services, adequate standard of living here. So, these are the six-fold classification. But added to this, there is one more seventh category, which is called as minority and rights. So these minority rights in category one country, there will be a small number of seats. For them, they must be rights. So that has been actually by the committees. There were few treaties that has been subsequently formed, and these includes to right to protect women, racial and the ethnic minorities, indigenous and ethnic indigenous people. So and also the right for the children, migrant workers, etc. So now, for better understanding, we'll see furthermore which are the civil and political rights, economic, social and cultural rights, collective rights, legal and idle rights. So civil and political rights are nothing but the right to life, freedom from torture, cruel women, and forced labor. We tend to see forced labor as people are deprived of poverty. They tend to go and have whatever job they want. So in that meanwhile, they have been forced labor. They have been given the kind of cruel kind of work that because of the sake of poverty they have to work them. And the right to liberty and right of different person, freedom of movement, you can go and settle in any point of area, and right to recognition as a person before the law, right to privacy, right of freedom of thought, conscience and religion, right to marry and found a family, right to hatred, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, right to marry. So these are all come under the civil and the political rights here. Okay. Next we have the economic and the social and cultural rights. So these includes in the area of economic, social and the cultural perspectives, where in the economic area, if we see, it includes the right to work, right to favorable conditions of work, right to farm, and you can join the trade unions as such, and you have the right to social security, protection of family as well, and you are given the right to adequate standard of living under this economic rights. Okay. Next we have the collective rights. In this area, where are the rights includes like people can So we have collective rights, which means you have self-determination, development, free use of wealth and natural resources, peaceful environment, and these collective rights, other collective rights are also there, like national, ethnic, religious. So these are all the collective rights, where you see a group of people which is meant for the collective purposes. Next, we have legal and the uh, next, we have the legal and the idle rights. So, where under this legal and the idle rights, B. Philip Mason, he is actually associated with Institute for Race Relations in England. He is speaking that these legal rights, about this legal rights, and referring that human rights were the. So we have this rights, basic human existence, right to health. In the health, we have physical and the mental. We have right to social security, and we have right to clothing and the housing. So in this legal and the uh, in this legal thing, we have right to social security, right to clothing and housing, right to food, and we can right of freedom association, right to education. You can there is a right to participate in cultural life as well, and self determination as such. So here, what happened? The civil rights, it actually made and it actually implied for the inherent what's it intervention. When the state is involving or the nation is involving, they must be given rights for all the persons. It should check that civil rights are properly intervened or been given by the state here as such. Okay, so these civil rights are actually should be protected by the law here. Okay. And this legal rights can be enforced in the court of law. Since the term says about the term itself says about the being legal, so it says about it should be protected by the court of law, and these idle rights have should be for those people. There must be a justice society, a proper justice. Just means that is good enough, and where it can inherit all those human beings here. So here, this we can accept that to recognize this international bill of intervention, which has actually contained the global community, where we have seen it should we should accept, and we have to see that it has included all the community. Otherwise, there would be, if there is no such thing, otherwise there would be a situation where the 795 million people in the world, they could not have enough food and they could not lead a healthy life there. So now we'll see the basic features of human rights. Few of them are like human rights. It is inherent to all the human beings we know. Whereas whatever nationality, from whatever nation you are, it just sees about whichever language you are, ethnic you are, religion, language, whatever any other status. It is inherent to everybody. Next, it is equally entitled and there is no discrimination as such. And these actually are interrelated, and these are independent, and this is indivisible. Okay, which cannot be divided. Next, we have these are actually expressed and it is guaranteed by the law. It is guaranteed by the law how there will be a number of treaties, there will be a number of international laws, principles, and other sources of international law as such. We have human rights as well, that is laying down the obligation of governments. So that is making those governments to act in such a way that it could promote and protect human rights and fundamental freedom of individual and groups here. Next, we tend to see human rights are inalienable. These are not divided. Okay. So where we see the principle of universality of human rights, it is actually the main cornerstone of national rights law here. So the first principle that has been emphasized in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1945, that has actually made again numerous human rights conventions, declarations, and resolutions. So the 1993 Vienna World Conference was one such example. And next we have the all these rights are indivisible, which is not divided, and they are interrelated, and there is interdependence. So whether they being civil or being political or being economic or being social and cultural, whatever it is. So they are independent here. Okay. So next we'll see the state's obligation to protect the human rights here. So the obligation state assumes many of the obligations. Obligations is nothing but such making few set of rules or duties or the policies here. So this actually assumes those obligations, those duties which come under this international law to respect all those individuals to fulfill their human rights here. So the obligation here is that the state should go away from, it should not involve, and it should not involve in the enjoyment of the human rights here. It should not involve much. The state should not intervene here. So the obligation here is to protect more protection requires, it actually requires state to protect all those individuals, and there will be a number of groups against the human right abuses here as such. Okay, there is one more obligation that it has to fulfill. The obligation here is to state should take positive action here. Okay, to facilitate that, it has to check that the people are actually enjoying the basic human rights here. Next, we have they are like human rights that has been laid down by the obligations of governments to act in such a way that they have to promote in order to promote to protect the human rights, and then it has to provide the fundamental freedom for all those individuals and the groups here. Okay. Next, we have this foundations. There is like a Charter of United Nations and the United Declaration of Human Rights that has been adopted by General Assembly in 1995. Okay. So where we see the law has actually expanded, it has actually made more uh, towards the standards of women, children. We tend to see in day by day course of time, when the time is been passing by, and the day by day in the present situation, in the contemporary situation also, we tend to see how rights are being expanded in the various diverse activities or the spaces here, right? So there is one more, like the Human Rights Council that has been established on 15th March 2006 by this General Assembly itself, that is actually making 47 state representatives who has given the task to work to strengthen, to make it strong, the promotion and protection of this human rights. Okay. And without being violating, it should check that it should not be violated here. Okay, so this Office of OHCHR, which is the High Commissioner for Human Rights, is the focal point of United Nations rights activities. Okay, so we'll now see the principle of non-discrimination, which is the most important central theme of human rights. Human rights are only given where there it actually sees that there is no discrimination. Everybody is equal here. So the principle of non-discrimination is where we tend to see major aspects of human rights treaties, and it actually provides the main central theme of this international rights conventions. There are many conventions. Conventions are nothing but the big, big conferences and the treaties and the obligations that are between the one country towards the whole, actually. It is globally. Okay. So those conventions are Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, Racial Discrimination. Okay. So here the principle of this principle actually applies to every human being in relation as being a human rights and it gives freedom, and it actually prohibits the discrimination as such. So this is saying this is actually prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sex, race, color, and many things. So that's what the principle of non-discrimination is been seen in the starting of the Article 1 of United Declaration of Human Rights. So now we will see the ethnicity. So what is ethnicity? Basically, you see, we have noted that there are human rights that are universal, that are applicable for everybody, like say civil, political, economic, social, and cultural, who belong to all human beings, including the members. Ethnic is nothing but ethnicity is nothing but coming from only one point of sphere, people coming from one point of clan or race, who are sharing the same race, clan, or the traditions, and some the same point of land there. So these are the ethnic groups here. So what is ethnicity? So it actually makes it is one of the important feature of human identity. To identify as a human, every race is very different, every culture is very different. There comes the ethnicity here, which is different in very different societies, and which is different in also providing for the internal harmony. Harmony is nothing but the proper goodness and stability, and this is how where we tend to see it also depends on how this ethnic diversity is actually making in the pluralistic society. Pluralistic society is nothing but a diverse society, a many society, many kind of people who are leading here. So the state's failure in creating such institutions for what, for this ethnic groups here. So that is actually leading a conflict in the situations where one ethnic group is actually feeling insecure. They are not feeling comfortable there against the domination of the other ethnic group, because one ethnic group can be large in size and another ethnic group can be small in size according to their economic, according to their cultural norms here as well. So this concept of ethnicity actually needs the proper clarification. Next, we have the ethnicity. Actually, the concept of ethnicity, we will see, it actually sees that ethnic identity, ethnic nationalism, ethnic conflict, ethno-conscious, these are actually not new. These are not new. It actually tends to see there are scholars of civil liberties, human rights law, ethnic studies. They actually focus on this concept of ethnicity here, because there are a large number of people, ethnic people, referring to a group of category who identify each other on the similarities that they have, like say on their ancestry, history, society, culture, nation, and the social treatment. This is how the concept of ethnicity has been. Now we'll see the shades of ethnicity. Shades of ethnicity, it has actually, the topic, ethnicity topic has been discussed in the United Nations in 1998, where the ethnic nationality, race, color, language, these all have been a characteristic features here. And it must be seen that there are different shades, nothing but the different kind of people who are coming from different countries and different point of time, right? So why it is, what it is called that different kind of people coming from different countries is nothing but the race here. Race is nothing but you are sharing other similarities between the uh, group of people who are staying in one place there, right? So these are the shades of ethnicity. Next, we have ethnicity as a source and the source of cohesion and conflict. Why conflict? Because the world is a home for the lot of ethnic groups. There are many ethnic groups we tend to see, from the Han Chinese to the largest ethnic groups in the world to the smallest indigenous groups as well. Where are like they are almost all these groups, they possess the shared histories. They have little common histories as well. Language, religion, culture, where they provide for a group of common identity. They have a littleness of the common identity here as such. Next, we have multiplicity of the ethnicity. So, where many of the countries they are largely composed of single ethnic group, like Egypt, Finland, Germany, China, they are the single ethnic groups. Whereas different people are the United States, Australia, Philippines, Panama. So they actually, there is a multiplicity you tend to see in these countries. So different ethnic groups, um, they do not have the same criteria as well. So one may be having a given, let's say, while one group may be having an importance to having the sharing of language here. Okay, sharing of language, and there are like French Canadians who are ethnic group. They actually language is the main paramount there. So these ethnic groups are actually self-defined. They are having their own ownership here. So there is no single aspect of giving a group identity like a language or the religion, etc. So today, for example, the UN census is dividing into five spatial categories like Asian, African, Black or African, American Indian or Alaska Native Asia and the Native Hawaiian and another islanders. So India is one of the unique countries where it has the great diversity in those ethnicities, religions, language, culture, cuisine, lot of things. We are very much diverse here. So within India, we have different ethnic groups such as India, uh, Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, Mongolian. So, and within the Indo-Aryans also, there are very much diverse group of people. Those are residing in the India. So here, when we see India is being traditionally divided into caste and clans, not ethnicities. Okay, so these have no official status since the 1947, the ethnicity. So except for the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes, they have been registered under the purpose of affirmative action. Affirmative action is nothing but the providing few set of rules from the governments. So in India, when you see there is population in terms of 1652 mother languages are being spoken in India here. Okay. Next, we'll see its implications, ethnicities implications for human rights here. So what is the implication here? So as being a diversity in society where it has to make the stability and how ethnic diverse it is been staying in the pluralistic society, it should be given with the proper constitutional guarantee and the institutions to protect the ethnic identity. You are falling from one identity, one ethnicity, it should be protected. So the feeling of the antagonism, nothing but the feeling of opposition that has actually forced many ethnic groups to have their demands, to have demands that has been affecting the human rights here because people will tend to discriminate you based on the they affect you based on your ethnicity also they discriminate you based on the ethnicity and also minor being the minor ethnicity likewise. So that's what they demand to pursue their rights as such. So on the other hand, there is a negative for human rights because it is linked, the ethnicity is linked with the discrimination and inequality because there are a lot of people who are very diverse. On the other hand, it should provide and legitimize basing where people can identify and they can defend their interests and they can make valid claims under the state, society. Right? For example, we have this ethnic identification that you are coming from one such ethnicity that is related provides a platform for group rights here because you are being ethnic here. So that is actually related for the if you see basically the Asian people are little similar there and that is related for the demands in the Asia as such. For example, there are without these policies of affirmative action, there are individual members who are actually being disadvantaged and they cannot fully enjoy equal rights in the sense of economic, social, and political spheres as such. So the Nigerian, they actually experience that the group rights are very crucial in Africa. You tend to see most of the African region is uh, discriminated, right? So not because of the cultural peculiarity, but because of the ethnicity and the notion of ethnic rights. So these are one of the implications of human rights. Next, we have the organizational concern for human rights here. So the organization has made a specific concern for the Human Rights, which is the Anti-Slavery Society for the Protection of Human Rights, and the Committee for Indigenous People, that is based in London and in England here. And in the present day group, which is the present day scenarios that we are seeing, that is a direct descendant. Direct descendant is nothing but coming after the one people after the another people, occupying that same place after one people in a family or group or whatever it is. So, where the present day anti-slavery society has three specific goals. One is the elimination of all forms of slavery, forced labor. Next is defense of interest of oppressed and threatened indigenous groups, people, the promotion of human rights in relation to this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So these are the goals of the anti-slavery here. So there are two organizations that has made important on behalf of the oppressed groups and individuals are the Amnesty International and the Minority Rights Group. So these both are also based in the London and the England. So the minority groups, they actually again have two major goals. Firstly is by they have to investigate and they have to publish the facts, which is actually providing to help to disadvantaged ethnic. If there is a case of being a falsification, it actually provides by the investigation and the publishing the facts. Secondly, it works to have the hopes of religious and cultural minorities in any country here. Sorry, conscience, it provides to develop an international conscience in regarding to this minorities here as such. So the key figure behind this group was the Peter Burson, who is a prominent lawyer in England. His primary concern was prisoners of conscience, that is regarding with the color of one's color around the whole world here. Prisoners of conscience is nothing but to prevent. The main primary goals of Amnesty International are to get that prisoners released from the jail and to, you know, how the prisoners are there. The jail is nothing but the discrimination. It should be, sorry, there will be the prisoners who are like jailed in the another countries or in the within their countries as such, and they should bring by the massive public pressure by doing the campaigns, protests, and all. Next, it has to aid families of those prisoners, whoever there are, because they might be poor, they might be not a situation. So, where whatever ways they can, it should provide them. So, next we have this organizations have granted NGOs status. It should be concerned with all those economic, social, cultural, technological problems that have been related to the question on the points of human rights here. So in this today's class, we have tend to see the human rights and the ethnicity here, how human rights have been a bedrock principle here, and we have also seen the International Bill of Rights that is containing for the model of global community here as such, and we have seen the ethnicity and human rights should be in everybody's mind and should be a major concern for all the ethnic group. What the human rights? So we have also seen the broader level about the solutions that to be brought out and the principles of non-discrimination and the equality. And the current need is the increased promotion, okay, the refinement and the continuous development, how we can well develop the human rights so that it could protect all the individuals from all kinds of discrimination here as such, and it should also within that human rights it should also focus on the ethnicity aspect as such. So this is the today's class. Thank you.